Okay. So one of the questions that I get asked ever such a lot, and I love to deal with these things in lives, because you can say so much more in a live than a quick text answer to these things. Is what water should we be drinking? Sometimes it goes further on what water should we be bathing in and so on. But I'm going to concentrate today on what water should we be drinking. And the answer is much less complex and much easier than you might otherwise think. Let me see if I can figure out how to make the chat visible. Here we go. Just in case people text me, I want to be able to see that. Okay, so what water should we be drinking? What is the best source of water? Now, I'm going to be answering that as if you live in the real world. If you live in the purest mountains with a stream that's on absolutely beautiful source, then that might be it. But most of us live in the real world where we have tap water and bottled water and all these regular options. I'm talking to those people. Okay, so the first thing that we should ask ourselves when we ask the question, what water should we drink, is, I've got a fly annoying the heck out of me, buzzing around. I don't think I can see it on the video, so you probably can't. I want to kill it. So the first question that you should ask is, what is it that you want from water? What is the prime quality that you're looking for? And the prime quality should be purity. Okay, we want pure water. Another way of looking at it is its opposite, is we don't want toxic water. Okay, so the prime thing we need to be looking at when we're seeking to find the best drinking water is which is the least toxic or the most pure. That seems to me to be common sense. However, that viewpoint has been hijacked in recent years, or for a while now, where they've changed the focus because there's certain waters that are being sold to us, and they've changed the focus from purity to the pH of the water. And this is a distraction. It's a marketing ploy, and it's not something we should be paying too much attention to. Okay, I may cover that a little bit more later, depending on how we go. But it's purity that we're after. Okay, so we want pure water. Now, in nature, the water that's provided to us in nature is, apart from man's endeavors to poison the entire atmosphere, but the water is as pure as we're going to get in nature, because what nature does is it distills all water. So basically, distillation is the practice of evaporating the water, recondensing it, and giving it back. That's what nature does. So all water provided by nature is distilled, whether it be rain, snow, dew, mist, if you're grabbing it out of the air, whatever, all natural water is distilled. Now, of course, once the water reaches the earth in whatever form, most of the time it then picks up contaminants. If it's in a river, it's going to pick up the dirt and all the rest of it. So when you drink that, most water, there's contaminants in it, and minerals and so on, picked up from the earth and whatever else it comes to. Sadly, today we've got contaminants being picked up in the atmosphere because they're spraying nanoparticulate toxins in the atmosphere. So now the rain that we get isn't always as pure as it should be. That's on man, not the natural system. Okay, so hopefully all that makes sense so far. So we have a wide range of waters offered to us, from all different types of filtered water. We have machines that convert the water into alkaline water, or various other methods of alkalizing water, etc., etc. There's a vast array, and it gets very complicated if you allow the prime quality to be dropped from your criteria, and you start getting swayed by other claims like its ORP value or its pH value, or all these other claims which are heavily marketed but really are not important. And sometimes what they're claiming is good is actually bad. So focus on purity. We want pure water. Now, the provably best way, undeniable scientifically, you just can't argue this, the best way of getting water and purifying it to make it as toxin-free as possible is distillation. There's no argument. You can't, scientifically, you cannot argue with that. All scientific labs around the world, when they want pure water, they use distillation. Okay, distillation provides the purest water, unquestionably. Not RO, that might be the next best in a normal environment. Not RO, not Berkey filters, not Kangen machines, not any other filter. Distillation provides the purest water. Now, that should be the end of the argument, except because of marketing purposes, distilled water is attacked constantly as if it's not good. So let's just look at that for a minute. So there are arguments against distilled water. Sadly, one of the proponents that's put out arguments against distilled water, and he does a lot of good information, usually, not always, he's wrong on vitamin D and he's wrong on distilled water, and that's McCullough. So he's put out some information basically saying that distilled water is going to almost kill you. That's how strong the argument is. So is there any validity to that argument? It's actually not McCullough's argument. He just posted somebody else's argument and it's become very popular, and it's the prime foundation for a lot of misinformation there, that distilled water harms you. And I'm going to explain why this is complete BS, and even if it were true, how you could overcome it very simply and easily, even if it were true, which it isn't. So, does pure water really kill you? Now, the argument goes that distilled water will leach the minerals from your body and thus over time damage you and eventually kill you. That's the argument. Is that true? Okay, it contains a truth, but it's a lie. Let me explain. All water takes minerals from your body, all water. So if you test your urine, you will find that there are minerals in that urine. So whatever you're drinking is removing minerals. So why does your body, when we need water to live, why does your body, why does the water in your body flush out minerals that we also need to live? And the answer is not too difficult. The answer is that not all minerals are helpful for the body. Some minerals damage the body. Now, I'm not talking about the particular type of mineral in the sense of magnesium. So does magnesium help the body or damage the body? Or does calcium help the body or damage the body? Calcium both helps the body and damages the body depending on the type of calcium. So what the water will do is flush out the type of calcium that damages the body while leaving the type of calcium that helps the body alone. So let me explain that a little bit further. There's two basic states of minerals. You have minerals in what we call the elemental or metallic or rock state, and we have minerals in what we call the organic or food state. So let's work with calcium. So do we need calcium? Absolutely, yes, we do. So does that mean that eating rocks, calcium carbonate, limestone crushed up, is healthy for us? No, it isn't. It's not healthy at all. That's a form of calcium in a state that is not good for the human being. Can we absorb any calcium from rock? Yes, we can. A tiny little bit, maybe 5%, but 95% of rock calcium is left in your body because it can't be absorbed and your body has to excrete it. Thereby, water comes into the picture as a major part of the excretion process of the calcium your body can't use, which otherwise would be toxic. And if your body doesn't excrete it, that calcium has to be dumped in the body, and now you get problems arising from kidney stones to furring up of the arteries to cataracts and so on, which is rocks in your body that your body can't absorb but it's got to do something with, and it hasn't been able to get rid of it because you've got too much, so it stores it, and that does damage. So if we want calcium, which we do, we don't want to eat rocks to get it. So where do we get our calcium? Okay, well, the plants take the calcium, the rock-based calcium, and convert it into a form that we call food state or organic. So if we eat a plant or if we eat an animal, which ultimately is eating a plant at some point, you know, that either it ate the plant or the animal it ate the plant. But at some point, the calcium that comes from the plant is in a form that your body can use. And these forms of calcium your body can absorb, if it's healthy, so in some cases as much as 100% of that gets absorbed. So very high rate of absorption, because this is a form of the mineral that your body can use. This is why we don't want to supplement with crushed up rocks for calcium. We instead want to get our calcium from a food source or a food-based supplement, because they are very, very different. Okay, one your body needs and absorbs, the other your body's going to have to mostly get rid of. A tiny little bit will get absorbed, which is why you can take elemental minerals, and you will, if you're really deficient, you'll get a little bit and you might feel better, but you have to deal with the 95% that your body can't absorb. Now, there are some supplements that use elemental minerals and they increase the absorption to maybe 35 or 40%. And the way they do that is by tricking the body into believing it's organic, by wrapping the inorganic mineral in an organic substance, usually amino acid, and they call it chelation. Okay, so it'll say on your bottle chelated, and whenever you see chelated, you know that you're looking at a rock that they're tricking your body into believing is organic by wrapping it in an amino acid or some other organic substance. Okay, so elemental minerals are not our best source of supplementation. We want to be getting our minerals, vitamins, and so on from food or food supplements, not from crushed up rocks and crushed up metals. So, for example, the authorities that be do not differentiate between these two types of minerals. So let's look at iron. So iron is a mineral that we need, but because the corporations, big pharma, and so on don't differentiate, typically when they give us supplementation of iron, so what they actually give you is literally iron filings. So you can go and purchase a box of cornflakes that says iron fortified, and you can literally pull the iron filings out of the cornflakes with a magnet, and you can see them. They feed you iron filings because they do not differentiate between literal metal and the organic plant or animal based form of the mineral. In the case of iron, actually it's better to get from animal sources because it's a form of iron that doesn't need converting, which you need to convert plant based type of iron. Anyway, I get sidetracked. So we want our minerals from a food source. Even if it's a supplement, it's got to be a food source. We do not want it, in general, we do not want it from a rock metallic based source. Now, in water that's come from a river or a reservoir or wherever, there's going to be minerals, most of which will be in their elemental form. There might be some organic minerals in there as well, but a lot of it is going to be in its elemental form, which is what you're going to see if you have a kettle and you keep boiling water. You'll see the scum, the lime scale, whatever, which is the rock, which will start furring up your kettle, right? So this form of mineral not only is not what we need, but it will damage your health. It damages your health. It's okay in small amounts, so our body can cope with the amount that you would get in water. Our body can cope. You're just going to flush it, which, as I say, that's what water does. It's going to flush that mineral out. It might absorb a little bit, and then it will flush the rest out. So we can cope with it. But if we're supplementing, the quantities are too much for our body, and we can't, and it's going to damage us. So we never want to supplement with elemental mineral supplements, which most of them are, because it's obviously very cheap to use dirt. Sell you dirt. Now there's different types of dirt. So you've got dirt from organic plant matter that's broken down. That's fine. And then you've got dirt from rocks broken down. That's not fine. Okay, right. So back to water. So we are not, for the most part, getting minerals in water that help us. We're getting minerals from water that our body has to flush, and that's why water flushes minerals out of your body. So, does distilled water flush minerals out of your body? Absolutely it does. It flushes out minerals your body can't absorb, as all water does. The only difference with distilled water is it's better at it, so it flushes more because it's empty water. It has more ability to be a solvent and absorb toxins, which is effectively what these are. If I can give a quick example, if you have some water and you boil it, make it hot, and then you stir in some sugar, and you keep stirring in the sugar until it can no longer absorb anymore. Now that you put sugar in it doesn't dissolve. Then you pour that water off and leave the undissolved sugar. So you've just got water full of sugar, but you can't see the sugar, right? But it is full. So if you gave that water to someone to dissolve sugar, it would be very bad at it, right? Because it's already full. There's no space left for any more sugar. Even though it looks just the same as water, it's full. So if you distill it, right, it's now empty. That the distilled water has the maximum ability to absorb the most sugar or anything else because it's empty. So the emptier the water is, the more ability it has to absorb toxins or anything else. Okay, so distilled water has the most ability to remove toxins from your body, which includes unabsorbed minerals, but not just that, any other toxins. Okay, so distilled water, far from being dangerous to your health, it's the best water to drink for many reasons. One is it's the purest, so it's not going to poison you. And the second is that it's the emptiest, so it's going to be the most useful for removing toxins. Now, let's just touch on pH. So distilled water has a pH of 7, it's neutral. Unless you leave it out in oxygen, then it will drop slightly because of the exposure to the air. But it has a pH of 7. Now, people that worry about pH, I don't want to get too much into pH because it's not the main focus here, but distilled water is the most effective of all the waters at alkalizing your body. Even though you could put an alkaline water in your body, it's more effective than an alkaline body at alkalizing your body because the prime cause of extra acidity is toxins. So it's toxins that acidify you. So we're being bombarded with acidifying toxins. And distilled water is the most effective at removing toxins causing the acidity. So distilled water is actually, while it might have a lower pH than an alkaline water, it's because they've added something or done something to the water. It's actually the most effective at alkalizing your body because of its ability to remove the cause of the extra acidity. Okay, so even that argument fails. However, the whole argument that we need to be eating and drinking things to alkalize us is not a scientifically valid argument anyway. But again, it's a different subject, so I don't want to get into it. So back to the point. Distilled water then is scientifically provably the purest water. Drinking pure water is the first priority of any water, not its pH, not its ORP value, it's whether it's pure. Okay, so therefore we should be drinking distilled water if we want the healthiest water. Not, say, Kangen as an example, which makes water alkaline and it gives it a high ORP value, a high ORP, but it's not very good at removing toxins. And all the marketing for a Kangen machine and other similar machines is all about pH and antioxidant power and all of it. It completely ignores purity because it's rubbish at it. Okay, so don't be distracted by all these arguments. You want pure water. Now, if you really feel the need to add minerals, which you shouldn't be doing, you get your minerals from your food or your food-based supplements, not your water. But if you still just can't shake that fear that's been instilled in you by false marketing, then you can very easily add minerals back into the water after you've got it pure. And I would suggest, if you're going to do that, I wouldn't do it, but if you're going to do it, then use organic minerals, or you can use a little bit of unrefined salt if you really want to. Like, again, that should be in your food, but if you really want to put that in your water, do that. Now, just one final point before I finish. One of the arguments that they use against distilled water is that it's dead water. Now, I don't know where they get the idea that non-distilled water is living. but apparently they do. And what they think is, because nature provides us with distilled water, so they obviously believe that by adding dirt to distilled water, now it's alive. It's a crazy argument. And aside from that, you're going to get plenty of impurities in the distilled water the moment you drink it anyway. So it's not going to be distilled for very long. As soon as it's in you, it's going to be absorbing all kinds of unabsorbed minerals and other stuff into that water. So it's going to get that after you've drunk it anyway. But anyway, I'll just comment on that. Distilled water, it's just an emotional kind of argument. It's dead. Where do they get that from? What the main reason that they could argue that is that when you remove all the minerals, then you can't pass electricity through it in that moment before you drink it. So yeah, the electricity isn't going to pass through it very well. Is that why they call it dead? I don't know if that's what it is, but as soon as you drink it, that all changes anyway. It's a very silly argument. Okay, so the best water to drink is distilled water, but I need to say this very important fact: not distilled water that you purchase. Because distilled water that you purchase is usually pretty much always in a plastic bottle, and distilled water, being the best water at absorbing toxins, is going to absorb the toxins from the plastic bottle better than any other water, and it's not going to be distilled anymore because now it's full of toxins from the plastic. You have to distill your own water, and it's one of the cheapest ways of getting pure water, much cheaper than the other filters and stuff. In the UK, it's about £160-ish for a home-based countertop distiller. The brand that I tend to recommend is Mega Home, and that will last you for years and years and years and years. In the US, I think it's about $260-ish right now for the same filter. I've seen it at a much higher price. You have to shop around a little bit. But so distiller, which will last years and years and years. I think my current distiller is maybe 5 years old, and you don't have to keep buying filters. There's a tiny little carbon filter in the spout of a distiller just to deal with the VOCs, a certain toxin that has a lower boiling point than water, a little like a tea bag thing. But other than that, you're not buying filters like you are with other machines. It's very much cheaper. So distillation is my recommendation. That's why. Hope that you found this helpful, and I highly recommend, if you haven't got a countertop distiller, you go out and get yourself one. There are distillers as well for those preppers. You can get distillers that don't use electricity, but use other methods like, for example, a fire and stuff. So you can distill water even in the event of having no power, because that's the one downside of a distiller over gravity filters. It does need power. If you're using an electric one, but there are ways around that, and there's ways of pulling water straight out of the air, which is distilled water as well. So God bless everybody, have a great day. I hope this has helped to cause you to think about some of these issues and maybe dig deeper and research further. Okay, bye bye for now.